Yes, it is. It wasn't just you. I had the sound off. I got to keep reminding myself to turn the sound on. All right, so we are going to be talking about right hand versus left hand path, sorcery versus mysticism, active versus passive, in terms of achieving enlightenment, achieving nirvana, becoming a perfected immortal, escaping the matrix, moksha, liberation, escaping reincarnation. I don't care what word you're using, we're talking about the same general destination. So we have two basic paths to get there. One is active, which is sorcery. One is passive, which is mysticism. I would put shamanism in the category of active sorcery, because shamanism is about achieving a dynamic balance in an active environment, whereas mysticism is achieving oneness, unity, peace. Now, there isn't a right and a wrong. These two things exist simultaneously. You have active and passive. You have masculine and feminine. You have yin and yang. You have light and dark. You have left and right. The left and right hand path is one practical way of looking at it, because the right hand, if you follow the right hand up, it goes to the left brain. The left brain is detached, it is critical, it is more intellectual, it's more rational, it's more logical. It's the path of the Vulcan. That's the path that Spock would use. He would use the right-hand path because he is a being of logic, and he seeks to avoid the delusions and the traps that come with passions and emotions. The other side is the left-hand side. So the left-hand side, if you follow that, that goes to the right brain. The right brain is inclusive. The right brain is emotional. The right brain is experiential. So a lot of people run into problems with active versus passive, and those are usually Westerners. Masculine versus feminine. Westerners tend to flip it. They tend to misunderstand what feminine and masculine is. Westerners will think that masculine is active and feminine is passive. That is the actual narcissistic delusion of paternal, male-oriented society. The fantasy is that the woman will relax and submit. But in reality, she's running the show. She is cooking the dinner and holding a baby, and she's got a phone, and she's doing a bunch of different things at the same time. She is the one that gives the man the feeling that he needs to go and work harder, but he comes up with the idea himself, or so he believes. It's because she, the passive one, is actually actively directing and manipulating things so that the family will survive and prosper, because her focus is on physical manifestation. Her focus is on manifesting and creating and maintaining life. His focus is going beyond. And that is why the masculine is associated with meditation and spirituality. Now, modern Western society gets this completely backwards. And again, that's because modern Western society for the past couple thousand years has misunderstood, through Abrahamic religion, has completely misunderstood the interaction between masculine and feminine. So before I launch into some other side thing which will get us off track, let me get back to the subject. So let's bring up the list, which is why I make the list, so that I will stay on topic. So, is this what I want here? All right, we have passive versus active. So the mysticism path is the masculine, and it is passive. In the mysticism route, we are denying the passions. So this works because your inability to achieve your highest expression of yourself, your immortality, your perfection, being able to have perfect health, being able to manifest prosperity, being able to do what I strive to do, and I'm, in my experience anyway, I continue to make progress in this, which is to be able to intend your reality. You control the matrix by intending your reality, and you create your projection. You create in concert with the matrix. You create what you want. You don't waste your time trying to escape the matrix. You won't. You created the matrix. You chose to come here, and you're stuck with it for this lifetime. The question is, will you get the matrix to serve you in this three-dimensional video game, or will you be trapped by it? And if you want to be trapped by it, then all you have to do is listen to your delusions, listen to the trickster within the matrix that is constantly trying to tell you that you're a victim of circumstance, that you're a small being in a huge, small cog in a huge machine, that you are a small created being, God is above you. These are all things that are embedded into the matrix to make it fun. It stops being fun when you forgot that you created the matrix. When you remember that you created it, then overcoming these things becomes fun. And then it becomes a blast to learn how to intend your perfect reality. So, the thing that will stop you from achieving this is the delusions that are wrapped up in your passions. So there's two ways to deal with passions. One is to deny them through mysticism in the passive sense. The other is the active, which is to fulfill your passions. So this is the difference between Tantra and regular Hindu spirituality. Because Tantra, in other words, like if you're a Krishna worshiper, which is more of the passive, more of the passive side, Krishna worshippers, for example, during solar eclipses are told to stay indoors, do not go outside, do not let that touch you, because that's Rahu, the deceiver, that's in between the sun and the earth, which represents the delusion that gets between your soul and you. And so they say, do not expose yourself to it. So instead, you stay at home, you light candles, you put pictures of Rama and Krishna, and you chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You chant so that you will be protected from the delusion of your passions. The tantric worshiper, on the other hand, goes, this is the most powerful time to do magic. So he or she would go outside, and under when the solar eclipse is going on, they would be chanting their mantras, but they would be doing magic. They would be doing some kind of sacrifice to gain all of that power, because they want to achieve their passions. So the delusion of this reality, they're aware of that, but that's what I came here for. I came here to experience it. And both of these strategies have the same goal, which is to eradicate the passions altogether. One is to passively deny them, and thereby, by starving the passions, they no longer can delude you. And in the active side, you fulfill the passions. Therefore, you don't want them anymore. So when you satiate yourself and you're full, like you're really hungry and you go to a restaurant and the food looks so good, and you eat until you're full. No, I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. There's something that you want. You want to eat chicken parmesan every day for a year. By the end of that year, like, I am so done with chicken parmesan. I want I mean, to me, chicken parmesan sounds disgusting. But some people like that goopy, creamy, cheesy garbage. But for somebody who loves that, they eat it every day for a year. By the end of that year, you don't want another chicken parmesan for the rest of your life. You've fulfilled that passion. This is Tantra versus mysticism. Then you have starving of the flesh, perfecting of the flesh. So we've sort of already gotten into that, because by denying your passions, you starve the flesh. The flesh, the body, is the interface between you and this three-dimensional matrix, this virtual reality. So by starving that connection, then you get connected to the spirit, and then you're able to see through the illusion of three-dimensional reality. Whereas on the active side, the sorcery side, you are seeking to perfect the flesh. Your body is actually the conduit through which you surpass physical reality. We do this over here. That's what all this stuff here is. What I'm doing over here is I'm doing some the celestial qigong, and I'm doing different energy work to get the vibration of the cells of the body up to a certain frequency, which will then change and empower the body. And the difference again between achieving the peace of mysticism would be like Yoda. After Yoda, he passes away, his body disappears and he no longer exists. And so his body, he no longer has a body. The body is no longer him. He's just pure spirit. Whereas the sorcerer, the person seeking perfected immortality, he actually doesn't deny the body. He empowers it and brings the level of energy of the cells of the body up to a level that goes beyond three-dimensional reality. And so he phases out of existence, but he takes his body with him. And so his body, he needs his body. He needs a healthy body. If you ever go and, you ever see pictures of Hindu saints, you'll notice, Aghoris as well, you'll notice that they look physically really unhealthy. I just got to be honest about it. And it's because they just have denied everything. They don't do anything. They don't exercise. They don't eat. They just sit in meditation all day, and they're kind of flabby, and they don't look, they're not going to go out and win any bodybuilding competitions, or they're not going to go and do anything physical, because for them, they're trying to go beyond the flesh. So this is just this meat bag they carry around with them. Whereas the perfected immortal is seeking through the body to gain its perfection. And so here we have starving the flesh, which is I want to avoid physical experience. I want to deny physical experience and just go into the spiritual. Whereas the sorcerer says, no, it is through the physical that I surpass the physical and get to the spiritual. I transform the physical into something spiritual. The other one, you deny it. You release it, it starves itself, and it goes away. And in the passive, which again is the masculine, the right-hand path, you are seeking to achieve the peace of the soul. So you're seeking to have that passive experience where you achieve peace inside the soul, and the soul is masculine. So you're wanting to merge directly with the soul. The soul is beyond everything physical. So the soul in its natural experience is timeless. It is it's beyond time and space. It is in pure bliss of awareness, and it is connected to everything. It is infinite, and that there's this static peace. And for the sorcerer, he or she is seeking to experience the love for the soul. So you can either go after having the experience of the soul, being the soul, which would be masculine and passive, or you can have the active feminine, powerful, which is you fall in love with the soul. And you see this with Hanuman and Rama. If you're familiar with them, go look them up. Hanuman is the monkey king god who protects Rama from all danger and protects his wife Sita from all danger. And I forget what the exact exchange is, but Rama says something to Hanuman about, are you devoted to me or something like that. And Hanuman very dramatically takes his hands and he tears his chest open. And he shows that in his heart isn't there. In place of his heart is Rama. Rama, when he tears open his chest, Rama is in his heart, which means that he is all about the soul. He is devoted. He is the devoted servant of the soul. So one could make the argument, who's closer to the soul? The soul or the servant? Because that is the same goal. The goal for the active and the passive is the same. To connect directly to the soul, have the soul become everything. So you either deny this physical reality or you complete it. The reason why that we reincarnate is because we don't complete it. I personally, myself, I don't do very well with the passive. For a lot of reasons, but one of them is that I'm just far too physically lusty. I need physical experience. I get the experience of infinity through the body. Going to the gym, surfing. Surfing is it for me. When I get that perfect scenario going with the waves, I disappear. I become one with everything. And then, of course, it doesn't last very long, and I become obsessed, and I keep doing it. I had an experience, I told you about it in the last video, where I thought, now it's 100% pain-free, but I thought that there was something going on with my tendons and in my hand that were going to prevent me from being able to surf as much as I wanted. And the thought of that was so saddening to me. I found myself thinking in ways I've never thought. I found myself thinking, well, I can't wait to get out of this body so I can come back. Because I don't care. I'll come back again so that I can fulfill this. I need to fulfill this surfing addiction. I want to fulfill it. I want to completely get it all out of my system so that I can move past it. But I want to enjoy it. And so for the first time in my life, I actually said, I want to come back. Then, of course, as you heard in the last video that I did, I actually realized that the pain I was experiencing was having to do with my unconscious resistance to achieving my fantasy. And when I became aware of that, and I became, this pain has nothing to do with anything physical, it started leaving, and now it's completely gone. I'm 100% pain-free. And Sunday, I was in so much pain, if I just tapped anything, I was just in horrific pain. But it was all psychosomatic. It was my unconscious resistance manifesting itself in my physical body. All right, so before I get too far off track, let's once again look at this short list. The passive. Deny the passions so that you can go beyond the physical. You starve the flesh because the desires of the flesh are illusion, and you want to go beyond illusion, and you're seeking to get to the peace of the soul. You're seeking to become just soul and no physical body. This is the masculine, the passive, the right-hand path. In the active form, which is the left hand, the feminine, the sorcery path, you seek to fulfill all of your passions. And you're seeking to have the same experience of the passive, which is to go beyond the passions, but instead of denying them, you fulfill them. And in terms of the physical body, instead of starving the physical body of the passions and a physical experience, you perfect that experience. You perfect it spiritually, you perfect it physically. And in the passive side, the whole idea is to get to the soul so that you can achieve the peace of the essence of identifying with your immortal self, which is your soul. In the active, you seek to fall in love with the soul. You seek to serve the soul. And on one end, we have enlightenment or immortality. They're both achieving the same goals here. All right, so there were some other things that I wanted to say having to do with this. So, as you have seen in the title of this video is Jing, Qi, Shen versus Qi, Shi, and Yi. So this is also telling you what these different paths do. Now, if you're not familiar with that, if you've never heard that, that's all right. This is a Taoist thing. This comes from China. So, in the passive, which would be the right-hand path, you have Jing to Qi to Shen. Jing has to do with the physical aspect of the body, meaning the sexual fluids, but it's also the tendons, it's still more physical. So you've got basically physical. So you go from Jing to Qi. So you take the Jing, which is the most physical things within your body, and you transform it into pure life force energy, which is Qi. Energy, life force energy, prana. And then you refine the prana to get to the soul, Shen. So the Shen means the soul, the spirit. So you're going from physical to energy to spirit. And the end goal of that, as we've got here, is to achieve the peace of the soul. And again, that's the right-hand path. So this is what you see with the Buddhist tradition. This is what you see with the Shaolin tradition. They isolate themselves in monasteries. They stay, they're celibate monks. They're vegetarians. They practice martial arts, but ideally they do that to perfect the body and discipline themselves, right? So it's this path of discipline, this long, slow path of discipline, and they are avoiding the traps of the flesh, because if you get wrapped up in that, you get wrapped up in the delusion of desires, of greed, of pride, ego. You get trapped in those things. Those things, of course, will stop you and slow down or prevent you from experiencing the infinity of the soul. So you go from Jing to Qi to Shen. And they have specific practices that do that. Now you're seeing me over here doing the lightning Qigong, but that, if I were to give that a name, the proper name for that would not be Qigong. Right? So Qigong means energy work. Instead of Qigong, if I were to give this a name, I would give it Shi Gong, which would mean heart center lightning work. So technically anything that deals with energy you can just call Qigong. So, the celestial Qigong, I originally called it Negong, but I changed the name because I knew that people wouldn't search for Negong, they'd search for Qigong. And technically any energy work is Qigong. But Qigong is really what we're doing over here. And the Qigong is the lightning energy of the soul, which is why it's so powerful and so active, and why it's considered to be dangerous. This is why the left-hand path is dangerous. Somebody actually asked me about this on the last live stream, and I really appreciate it. So I can't remember what the exact question was, but she was asking me, I'm worried, I'm afraid that if I get involved in this, that I'm going to get wrapped up in power and I might do something harmful to somebody else. And, you know, nobody had ever asked me that question before. And as I talked through it, I realized that that has everything to do with the teacher. I have seen teachers who do this path, not exactly the path that I'm teaching, but same general neighborhood, using the same energies. And I've seen them go down a very dangerous path. And I've seen them really experience negative repercussions from it because they sought to aggrandize themselves and to the point of having people worship them and follow them and treat them like gods, even though they pretended, oh, I'm just a teacher, I'm nothing. No, but they were promoting themselves that way, and they were letting other people talk about them that way, and they were definitely going down that path, and I watched them then get severe repercussions from that. So if you follow this left-hand path and you have a teacher that is wrapped up in their ego, in their limitation, in their pride, in their lust, in their greed for power, then you run the risk, because they will be teaching you through their example and through their energetic transmission. They will be teaching you how to use it in negative ways. And there are people who practice the Mao Shan path who are without a doubt black magician, evil sorcerers, and you should stay away from them. And they use their power for manipulating, controlling people. They play around with evil spirits and use them for nefarious purposes. They're all about money and all this other kind of stuff. And so there's reason to be afraid of these people. And there's reason not to follow them. On the flip side of that, this is the delusion. There is just as much danger on the right-hand path as there is on the left. For example, born-again Christianity, Catholicism, those are extreme examples of the right-hand path. Complete denial of self, denial of personal fulfillment, denial of your own ego even. But what ends up happening is that the delusion of that is that you end up being self-righteous, you end up being judgmental, you end up being, at the very least, you end up feeling self-righteous because you are so spiritual. I am beyond all of that. So you get trapped in your head. One of the things about Buddhists, there's a lot of things about Buddhism I love, but one of the things about Buddhists, if you want to get just so wrapped up in intellectual nonsense, just try and ask a Buddhist about the nature of the soul. I mean, they'll go on for hours about non-dualist. They get so wrapped up in their intellect, and they think that they're talking about something spiritual. And I can't hear it. I just hear a bunch of intellectual ego. And they get in fights with each other over the nature of the soul. Does the soul exist? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Because the self and the non-self and the dual it's just, oh my God. How do I apply that in my life? Tell me how I can take that and make my life better. If you can do that, I'll listen to you. Otherwise, I'm tuning you out. If you guys are arguing about something, doesn't have any practical reality, I'm not interested. That's the trap of the right-hand path, of becoming so spiritual and so perfect and so full of love and light and so wise and so beyond. I'm beyond all. That's a trap in and of itself. That's a guarantee you're going to come back. In fact, I've come to the theory that people who come to this life who are Buddhists, who are drawn to Buddhism, these are people who in a previous life either were too intellectual or too passionate, and they need that balance, which is what Buddha was all about. He was about connecting the heart and the intellect and having them work together. That's not my path. I appreciate it. There's a lot about it I understand, but that's not me. I need physical power. I need physical experience. I need to feel the energy of the universe. I need to feel the power of infinity. That's what I need in order for me to be happy. And so if I went the right-hand path, I'd be miserable. I would end up being, you guys can tell. Just imagine if I, when I'm not happy, I would be one of those giant pain in the ass, just stickler, disciplined guys that would, I would, in fact, when I was younger, I was one of those, when I was in Christianity, I was one of those hellfire and brimstone preachers. That's the downside of the right-hand path. So they both have a downside, and they're both right. When the right-hand path says the left-hand path is evil, you have to be careful because you can get lost in your delusions, and you can get lost in your passions, and you can get lost in the power of it all, and it will bring you down. They're right. The left-hand path says, oh my God, you right-hand path guys are so full of yourself. You think that your denial of reality is actually denying you're actually choking off your desires. You're not, because what ends up happening? Who ends up committing the most intense sexual crimes? People who deny their sexuality. If you remember Jimmy Swaggart, way back in the 80s and 90s, this guy would go on and preach fire and brimstone about, about lust and sin and premarital sex. And what ended up happening? He ended up getting caught having sex with a crack whore on the side. He got caught doing that. Why? Because he was suppressing his own sexual urges to such a degree that they had to find a way out. So no matter which path you choose, there's going to be a problem. Question is, two things I think is, what is your nature? What is going to make you happy? Why did you come here? And second, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but who do you learn from? You have to learn from somebody that isn't going to take you down the wrong path. You see this on the right-hand side. You see this with gurus. There's a reason why people don't like spiritual gurus. There's a reason. Because they start to believe their own hype. And if they're a left-hand path, they believe that they have all this power, and they believe that they're these, they get so wrapped up in their power that it ends up corrupting them and destroying them. On the right-hand side, they begin to believe that they're so pure and they've gone beyond everything physical, that they have this, that they're walking, saints. I mean, the whole idea of bowing and touching, the foot of a guru is completely misunderstood 90% of the time. The guru that sits there and says, yes, touch my feet, and they recline, it's very hard for me to watch these spiritual gurus sit, and they've got their garb on, and they've got their whatever it is that they're doing, and they have these really elaborately set up couches, and they're reclining on the couch, with the gold and the this, and then the room full of people. I can't tolerate that. Just like the Buddhists say, if you see Buddha on the side of the road, kill him. Because if you see perfection, you're going to start worshiping perfection, and you're going to forget about your own path to perfection. So you got to find a teacher who's going to keep it real. And so any teacher that doesn't truly acknowledge that they are limited, that they are just like you, that they might be a couple of steps ahead of you, but outside of that, they're just like you, learning and practicing and experimenting and making mistakes. If they don't acknowledge that, run. Because you're going to get trapped. They're going to trap you either in their lust for greed and power, or they're going to trap you in their self-righteous delusion of spiritual perfection. And either way, you'll get stuck. And you won't achieve what it is you're looking for. So over here, what we do is we do Jing, we do Qi to Shi to Yi. So you have Qigong. Qigong is working with the energy of the lower self. I'm touching my navel center here. That's the physical life force energy that is in everything. It's in the trees, it's in the air, it's in the rocks, it's in the ocean, it's in the mountains, it's in just nature. Nature is filled with qi. And so this is your physical center. I'm touching my navel again. This is your physical power center. So Qigong will empower you that way. We go from Qing to Shi to Yi. So it's Qi to Shi to Yi. So the Shi, we go, instead of going from the sexual to the navel to the heart, which is Jing, Qi to Shen. Instead of going that path, we start at the navel with Qi. And then we go to Shi, which is the heart. And then we go to Yi, which is the intent, or the third eye. This is where the sorcery comes in. Sorcerers use their intent. Right-hand path, their intent is to not have an intention. The right-hand path is to go beyond all of that, to go beyond this three-dimensional false world, and so there's no need for them to have a magic of their intention. They don't need that. For the sorcerer, they want to perfect their physical experience. So they need their intention. They need their yi, their third eye, to be able to intend a perfect projection of their reality. And as I just shared with you, with me, this is my path as well. Either way, it's the same. Either you come to perfection by denying this physical reality and not getting wrapped up in the delusion, which it is, or you cooperate with it, and instead of letting it control you, you experience all of your passions, all of your fears, all of your ego, all the negative things which are, again, trying to trap you in the delusion. As you go after what you want, you refine it. So you refine your desires to be that of the soul. So this is where on the left-hand path we are seeking to serve the soul. Right-hand path, you are seeking to become the soul. By serving the soul, we say, we have all of this lightning power, this physical energy. Soul, what is it that you want to experience? Let us create that for you. And the soul says, you know what? I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job. I don't want to sit, in a yellow turban and, not do anything all day. I don't want to do that. I came here to experience life. But I don't want to do this garbage. I don't want to get caught up in drugs or alcohol or gambling or that kind of physical stuff. I want to get into this physical reality. Maybe you find a partner, get involved in tantric love as opposed to just whatever. You, like me, you get involved in doing some physical action that gives your body health and youth and power. You get involved in energy practice that gives you a physical experience and sensation of the energy, and then you look at all of your limitations and you seek to go beyond them so you can perfect the physical experience. Right? So I'm starting to repeat myself, but that's what we do over here. We're doing Qi to Shi to Yi. And anyway, so I'm happy to take any questions if you have any about any of this stuff. I don't see any questions here. So what we do when we don't have questions is I've got to entertain you to some degree. So let's see, how do I want to do that? Let me see, I'm looking for that. No, I don't want that. Question. All right, question jumps in there. JP Tompkinson question. Is there a sort of middle ground that creates synergy from elements of both left and right-hand paths? I'm far more interested in why you're asking that question. The answer to that question is obvious. But in order for me to best help you, I want to know why. Why do you need to get in the middle? Why do you not want to pick a side? You're obviously not wanting to pick a side. There's some negative reason. There's something you don't want. There's something you're afraid of, you don't feel worthy of, you don't want. There's some reason why you're asking me to give you the middle path whereby you don't. Is it that you're afraid? If I go on one side, I'll be tempted to escape reality. If I go the other side, I'll be tempted to get too physical. I'm far more interested in why you're asking the question. And when you tell me that, then I can best help you. Then I'll know what answer you really need. So tell me that and I'll answer your question. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Question. How can I tell the difference between sensing someone's true intention behind their words and my own projection onto them? Therapy. You might benefit from some 12-step work. I'm not quite sure which. Perhaps Coda or Al-Anon. So you can go to coda.org. But the bottom line is that you can't tell the difference. Your need to tell the difference is coming from your need to control. Your need to control is coming from your fear of being misunderstood, rejected, abandoned. And so the strategy that humans use is, let me figure out what somebody's thinking, what it is that they want. I'll try and get ahead of them so that I can either give them what they want or avoid whatever negative thing is coming from them. So it's not your job to tell the difference between, you're not supposed to sense somebody's true intention behind their words. Your job is to know your intentions and to know your boundaries. When you aren't seeking to either get something from somebody or avoid them taking something from you, which are signs of bad boundaries, it means you don't have any boundaries or you have poor boundaries. When you are empowered within yourself, and you no longer care what their true intentions are. Your only concern is, how does what this person is doing or saying or interacting with me about, how does that affect my ability to follow my true path? And if somebody is asking something from you that is more than you're comfortable with, you will say something to the effect of, I'm not sure I understand your question, but here's what I want, or here's what I need. But that's, the one thing you can work on is work with the Thurisaj rune. The Thurisaj rune is the rune of boundaries. So the same thing, you have this, the same rune works for two sides. If somebody is saying, for instance, like in relationships. In relationships, you will have somebody say, usually the woman saying, I can't get him to commit. He doesn't spend enough time with me. He's not connecting with me. And I have to find ways to get him to blah, blah, blah. And on the other side, you've got the person saying, that person wants too much from me. Oh my God, it's never enough. I'm always having to do this and I have to do that. So yeah, I lie and I go behind their back. These are both signs of a lack of boundaries. Because if you have clear boundaries, you don't need something from somebody else to such a point where you will go beyond their boundaries, which is what you're asking me to do, Vincent. You're saying, how can I disrespect their boundaries so that I can get inside their head and figure out, read their minds? Because if I can read their minds, then I'll be safe. So that's a lack of boundaries on your part. It means you want their love, but you're not willing to do the work to get it. It also means that you're willing to sacrifice your boundaries in order to please other people. So this isn't anything personal. These are just basic codependent issues. So I can't answer that question because it's not your job to do that. It's not your job to sense what other people are thinking. It's only your job to know what it is that you want. And when you know what you want, other people will respond to you in ways that help you. If you have clear boundaries, then people who are super needy are not going to be attracted to you because they'll see that you don't have any openings. If somebody is abusive and they want to manipulate you or go beyond your boundaries, they're going to sense that you're not a victim, and so they're going to leave you alone. Then you never have to ask the question, what is that person thinking? Because that person isn't there. When you're empowered with yourself, as I said earlier, you won't need anything from them. You won't need their approval. You won't need their love. You won't need to know what the hell they're thinking. You won't care. You'll care when they step on your toe. You go, ow, you just stepped on my toe. Stop doing that. The end result of that, when you get complete within yourself, then you'll know. You'll have an intuitive sense of what people are doing and what they want, but it's because you won't have an agenda. Right now, I can tell by that question that whoever it is that you're talking about, you have an agenda with them. You want them to love you, you want them to accept you, you want them to leave you alone, you want something from them. And so instead of acting honestly from that, you're going to try and manipulate the situation by knowing what it is that they really want from you. How should I react to this person based on what they want? All right? Again, I hope you can hear that without taking it personally. There's, it takes one to know one. Let's see what else. So J.P. Tompkinson, I said, why are you asking the question? He says, I guess I feel that there is wisdom in both. Listen, get out of your head. What does that mean, wisdom? You're not being direct and honest and vulnerable with me, which is what I want, about your feelings. That's a judgment. Of course there's wisdom in both. That's not the issue. So if you're saying, well, there's wisdom in both, so I want to be wise. Look, that's all intellectual, means nothing to me. You say, I don't want to miss out on what each has to offer. Who said that you have to do that? This isn't about missing out. So there's an assumption right there. The end goal for both of them is the same. So how can you miss out if you're going to end up, one guy goes through the mountain passes and the other guy follows the coastal route and they both get to Shangri-La. They both get to the same place. So you're not going to miss out. The question that, again, there's something about it. There's something about your question that is bothering me, which is why I'm struggling with it. But the truth is that you can use both. So it's not like, because I said the answer to the question is obvious. You said, is there some sort of middle ground? Of course there is. Of course there is. You can travel the mountain route and the ocean route. You can do both. This is what I'm doing. This is why I have a synergistic path that I've created. And I'm creating a path that I really like and that works for me. If you want to create your own path, you can do that. But you're wanting me to now tell you, okay, there's a third way. I've told you these two extreme ways, and you're saying, well, what is there? Is there a third way? I want a third one. And making choices based on what you don't want is bad. You say, I guess I feel there's wisdom in both, which again, that's an intellectualization. That I don't like that. That's you abdicating your responsibility for your own desires. You don't want to miss out on what each has to offer. So when you get married, you're going to have to pick one woman most of the time. You're going to have to pick one woman. You're going to miss out. There's another woman that has something that your fiance doesn't have, and there are things your fiance has that other women don't have, and a combination of it. So that bothers me because it comes from a place of lack. It means that you're afraid you're not going to get everything that you want. That annoys me. Because the whole point of this, of everything that I do on this channel, is about helping you find exactly what your soul wants and to give your soul exactly that. If you're wasting time thinking about, well, I won't get that from that and I won't get that from this, then you won't get anything done. I do this all the time. I'm obsessed with surfboards. I want a surfboard that's going to be long enough to catch little waves, but I want it to be short enough so it'll be maneuverable. But then again, I want to be able to catch the wave. But then again, if I'm sitting in a surf shop looking at two different surfboards and I can't make up my mind, the waves are happening and I'm not surfing the waves. Just pick one. Just grab a surfboard and go surfing. Operating from I don't want to miss out, again, the assumption of that is that the universe is not going to give you everything you've ever wanted, and you'll somehow miss out. So I want to address that. That's why your question was bothering me. I knew there was something in it that was coming from some weakness. So the question is, how are you going to be able to, if what you want to do is create this synthesis, how are you going to do that if you're not practicing? You have to pick a path, you have to pick a teacher, you have to pick a discipline, and you have to do it, you have to experience it, you have to learn from it, and then you'll know what is missing in that path when you've mastered it. And then you can go and do another path, find what's missing in that, and bring the two together. Either way, you have to experience it to find out what it is that you want. But more than likely what's going to happen is, instead of sitting back looking which path do I want, which one, instead of doing that, you just go pick one and do it. Then you're going to find experiences you never even knew existed. All right. And I also think this would prevent the excess of either side. Wrong. Again, you're coming from a place of weakness. You can't avoid the excesses. You can't avoid the traps. If you create a middle path, it will have its own traps. Coming from fear, it annoys me. No, you can't prevent the excess of any path, because every path has its own traps. Look what's happening in the United States. What's happening in the United States is the trap of democracy. Hit within, I don't know, I think it was Aristotle, I don't remember who said, some Greek philosopher talking about democracy said, each political path has the seeds of its own destruction. Giving people the power that democracy has given people has put people in a position where they can't trust and don't know who's telling the truth. They have so much freedom that they're shitting on everything. So sitting in that middle place of I don't know this and maybe that and I don't want it, you're not accomplishing anything. But you think you're going to find the perfect safe path that's not going to have a trap, you're going to end up getting trapped in that. There's going to be something about that you will get trapped in. My experience with everything is that you must do it with complete abandon. You must do it with everything that you have. And you must be willing to risk everything. Again, thinking about surfing, you want to surf big waves. As soon as you start to catch that wave and it gets really scary, if you don't do anything, that lip is going to pick you up and smash you down into the bottom of the ocean. So not doing anything guarantees your destruction. But if you're paddling for that wave and it starts to pick up, you completely, totally commit to it. Then you're able to get to the bottom and turn and survive it. You're not committing. What we say in the spirit fighting path, you have to face the door. There's one of 8 doors that you're facing. You have to face the door. You have to commit. If you don't commit, you're going to get annihilated. So J.P. Tompkinson, commit. You want a spiritual path? You want to practice a spiritual path? Find one. They'll all have limitations. They'll all be imperfect. Commit with everything that you have, and then you'll know. You'll know whether or not it's the path that's going to work for you. And or if you master it, then you'll know what's limited about it. And this is what I'm doing. After, I'm 57, after spending 30 plus years in Kundalini yoga, mantra meditation, Qigong, spirit fighting, after putting time, enough energy to gain some mastery in all of them, I now know how to take the best of all of them and bring them together for me. In order for you to do that, you're going to have to make a commitment. Sitting on the sidelines, trying to figure out which one is going to be the least bad one is not going to get you anywhere. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth for you. Chong the Viking, question. Do you recommend that people not mix your teachings with other spiritual teachings? Why or why not? Why are you asking? Why do you want to know that? You were not asking that because you're bored and you got nothing better to think about. You want to know something. You have a desire. So are you telling me that you are looking at another practice? That you want to practice my stuff and something else? What of my stuff are you doing? How committed are you? What level of the different stuff that I offer are you doing? Why do you want to do two different practices? If you tell me those things, I'll be able to answer your question. All right, let's see here. All right, while I'm waiting for more questions, let me just play this for you. I want to keep that on. All right, so Chong the Viking, you didn't answer my question? You don't want me to answer your question, so you're not gonna give me the follow-up information I need in order to answer your question? Because you ask a good question, but I need more information from you before I can answer it. Nimzaz Kia question. Practices you have online can be reached to children? Yeah. I mean, can you teach the stuff that I have to kids? Yeah. Short answer, yes. All right, nothing else? No more questions? Chong the Viking, you asked me these 2 questions and you're not willing to reveal why you're asking the questions? That disappoints me. Okay, I guess if there's no other questions, then I'll call it an afternoon. All right, so we've got multiple ways to interact with me and get the most from this channel. First is you can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. That will show you all of my books, videos, DVDs, etc., etc., etc. Also, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at any level. So bear in mind, I mean, I have so much stuff out there. I have so many resources available. I don't have time to go through all of them. But in thunderwizard.com, you can start at the basic level, which is the mastery of shamanism. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours of how to do rituals, you know, what the gods are, the directions, the energies, runes, you know, all that stuff. And then you have the Manifestation Mastery course, which teaches you how to train the matrix to give you exactly what you want. And then we have the 90-day, the Warrior 90-day Lightning Qigong, which is going to be the Mao Shan University. It's going to teach you. Trust me, I'm going to be revealing more and more powerful techniques as time goes on, and creating an entire tradition. The higher the levels you go, you get access to everything. So if you subscribed at the Warrior 90 Day, you would get access to all of the other members-only videos in the Patreon site. The maoshan.thunderwizard.com is going to be the Elite Warrior section. If you're going to do that, I require that you are subscribed to the Warrior 90 Day, because you're going to need that information and be doing that practice in order to get the most out of it. All right, so now I see a couple of things come up here. So Livity Jim, I don't know how much of my practices you've done, but the fact of the matter is it's not possible. Before I get into what I want to get into, it's not possible to do mine and do somebody else's. You can't. There's not enough time in the day. There's no way you could go on to the Thunder Wizard site, you know, sign up at the $25 level and practice everything in there, and be practicing all of the stuff on the Warrior 90 Day level, and be doing the Mao Shan. There's just no way. So there's no need. Forget about should you or shouldn't you. There's no need. There's just not enough time. So that question tells me you haven't done anything. Because the people who are doing it, the people who are signed up at the Warrior 90 Day are telling me, I don't have time to do all of it. Can I just do this and this? So why would you even be thinking about doing something else to aid it? I mean, I'm giving you so much stuff to do. All of the stuff that aids you is in the tradition. You've got the Celestial Qigong, which opens up all of the meridians and the nervous system of the body. You've got the Kundalini meditations and postures in the Warrior 90 Day morning practice. You have the 90 Day Lightning Qigong, and then you have the Immortals Qigong. Have you guys forgotten about the Immortal Qigong that I gave to you for free? I mean, doing all of these things takes time. There's no way anybody would have enough time to do all of it. It's not possible. So your question, I'm glad that you have that question, but it tells me that you haven't put any real time or research or even done any of it. Because if you did, instead of asking me, what other practices can I do alongside yours, you'd be saying, which of your practices should I do? I only have this amount of time in the day. So, Chong the Viking says, I've been using one too many different spiritual teachers to give me hope during a dark time, and it feels like information overload. Chong the Viking, honest feeling. The subconscious part of me feels like the results of this path would too good to be true. I'm still doing what I can, but I'm experiencing resistance. Right, so it's much better for me that you be honest with me, because then I can best help you. None of that is in your question. Do you recommend that people not mix your teaching with other spiritual teachers? Why or why not? That's not what you asked. What you asked, I mean, that's not what you said. You said, I feel like your path is too good to be true. And so if you are not fully committed to the path that I have, and like I said, there's no way for somebody to be doing everything. It's just not possible. There's no way to be so committed to this path that you're, okay, I've done everything, all the exercises you've given me, and it's not enough. I now have to go and do somebody else's practice. It's not possible. So what's happening is that you're trying to sabotage your growth generally, but in this path. And so I don't begrudge anybody going off and doing other stuff and, eventually creating their own synthesis. I don't begrudge anybody doing that. And I don't control anybody. I can't. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't control you. This isn't 2,000 years ago where it's just a tiny village. And I heard from so-and-so that you went and saw the master of the other village, so now I'm kicking you out. I mean, it's not possible. But you owe it to yourself to find out if your feelings are true. If you believe that what I'm giving is too good to be true, and I'm not trying to talk you out of that feeling, but if that's what you feel, then the logical expression of that is to go, I am going to do everything he's got so I can prove to myself one way or another, is this thing too good to be true? Then I'd believe you. If you said, I think this is too good to be true, but I'm going to only do it half-assed and then I'm going to try something else, then I know that you don't believe that. I know that you're sabotaging yourself, not because you think it's too good to be true, but either you're afraid it'll be too good to be true, or you're afraid that you'll be disappointed, you're afraid that you'll feel betrayed because your expectations will go up. So this has to do with you. There's a bunch of stuff. It could be that you don't think you're worthy of it, so you're talking yourself out of it. You've been lied to before, I don't know, but now it makes me think about stuff with your parents, etc., etc. So based on that, my suggestion for you is no. If you do multiple traditions, all of them half-assed, you're going to end up with nothing. And then you're going to end up with that same feeling that none of these things have anything of value. I've tried 5 of them and I didn't get anything out of any of them. It's because you didn't fully commit. So fully commit. I mean, there's no shortage of things that I'm giving you. You can do the Celestial Qigong and just do that. You can do the Celestial Qigong and the Warrior 90 Day. You can do the Celestial Qigong Warrior 90 Day and the Mao Shan. You can do the Mao Shan and the Warrior 90 Day. You can do the Celestial Qigong, and there's no shortage of stuff for you to do. Why are you thinking about somebody else's practice? And why are you setting me up? You don't realize it, but you're setting me up. You say, do you recommend that people not mix your teachings with other spiritual teachers? Forget about teachers. Now it's a personal thing. Now you want me to get to you want to get me and some other person to battle it out for your tutelage. And then why or why not? Why shouldn't I follow some other teacher? Why should I do? You're asking questions. You're setting me up to give you an answer that will give you an excuse to say, yeah, no, he's asking too much. I mean, there's something, he's too full of himself and he's controlling. And so I decided not to go with his. And so you'll let me so somebody else comes along and says, yeah, you can work with any teachers you want. I'm just here, do as little or as much as you want, which is what I say as well, by the way. So you're setting me up to be the bad guy so that you can talk yourself out of doing something that, according to you, you think is too good to be true. And if you really think it's too good to be true, then you owe it to yourself to find that out so that you can say, I did every single one of those levels. I did every single one of the Mao Shan 5-element Kung Fu things. I did all of that. I did the 30-day this and the 90-day. I did all of that stuff and I got nothing out of it. Then you'd have the right to say that. So my suggestion is no, I don't think it's in your interest to do more than one. And I don't care if you do me or somebody else. If you want to do somebody else's practice, then don't crap all over your progress in that path by trying to do mine as well. Doesn't serve you. If you, after you master mine, go try somebody else's. Master somebody else's, you want to come and try mine, then try this path. That's what I did. Is it spelt Mao Shan? Why do you want to know? Of course it is. Why would I spell it that way if that's not the way it was spelled? Yes, that is how it is spelled. Liberty Gym, $25 level. I thought it cost thousands of dollars. All right, so Liberty Gym. That tells me a couple things, which is annoying. The two most important things in life are to pay attention and put effort. So it tells me that you haven't clicked on any links, that you haven't investigated. You haven't gone to thunderwizard.com. You haven't gone to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. You haven't gone to courses.thunderwizard.com. You're not going to know unless you put the effort in to find out. It took for me to say something for you to acknowledge it. So this is the sad part of modern day internet stuff, is that people put almost no effort into looking things up or checking things out or investigating. If you want to get somewhere in this path, you will have to use all of your abilities, including your ability to investigate, your ability to commit, to think things through. So now you know. I've given you a couple of links here, courses.thunderwizard.com, thunderwizard.com, and maoshan.thunderwizard.com. If you go click all three of those, then you'll see a bunch of different levels. You won't even see all of them, but you'll see a few of them. All right, I don't see any other questions here. So if we don't have any other questions, then let's see. Do I have any closing thoughts about any of this? Passive versus the active. There was something I wanted to talk about, which I'm not remembering what it was. But I guess that'll have to wait for another time. The feeling that I have, which has been the theme of the discussion today, is you have passive and you have active. The worst place to be, which is where most people are, is in the middle. So, I use the word passive, but that doesn't mean it doesn't take discipline and commitment. It's passive in terms of its energy. The masculine is passive to the feminine. Shiva lies on the ground while Kali stands and dances on his chest. So he's passive. He sits in meditation and is one with everything. And he needs to be pulled out of his meditation in order to have lust for Parvati, so that he can create the universe. He's passive. He wants to go into emptiness, but it takes tremendous strength and commitment to do that. Obviously, the active path takes action. You see on this side, you see all this movement. You don't see just pictures of me in one position meditating. You see me doing all this stuff. I'm, pointing out Dr. Manhattan. So this is obviously an active path. That takes interaction, and that takes commitment, and that takes all of that. The worst thing to do, which is what people have been alluding to here, is to be in the middle. That's where you are going to be led along by your nose. You know, it's like cows have that, or oxen. They put a ring in the nose because it's sensitive, and then they tie a rope around it, and that's how they can get the oxen, which is so big and normally doesn't, stubborn as an ox, doesn't want to go anywhere. How do you get the ox to move? You pull the ring in his nose. And, I'm now on that side, I'm now that guy. I'm now that, that older guy that I talk about. Young women these days, and they put the rings in their nose. And that's the first thing that I think of. Oh, you want me to lead you around by the nose? Here, just let me get a little fishing thread and tie that on there, and then come with me, and I can get you to do whatever I want. That's what happens when you're in the middle. When you don't make a choice, you will be tossed around by your fears, by your delusions, by your passions, by your emotions, your fear of them. We ran into that. We ran into people on here who weren't engaging and wanted to sit on the sidelines. Life is happening. Your spiritual progression is happening whether you engage or not. You choose not to engage, you're building up a bunch of karma, which will then have to be acted upon in future lives. You are guaranteeing you will be back here for more confusion by not doing anything. You must be willing to take the risk to lose it all. Somebody makes the wrong decision. I did it earlier. I became a full-blown born-again Christian when I was 18. Full-blown hardcore. I committed so hard to it. And I read, I memorized the Bible. I read it in Greek. I read it in Latin. I went so deep into it that I finally got to the bottom and said, there's nothing here. So there's no way that any Abrahamic religious person will ever be able to say something to me that I didn't know. There's no secret thing they'll be able to pull out of their backpack to say, yeah, but did you know that this said that? They won't be able to do it because I already, know as much as they do, if not more. And not only that, but I have no agenda about it. I got through it and I said, when I left Christianity, it wasn't because I didn't believe. It was because I knew that it just didn't work. It just, I wanted to know the truth more than I wanted to belong. So because I was more interested in the truth, I saw through it. But that was because I completely devoted myself to it. So I was willing, and it wasn't, quote, mistake, but now I'm past it. I will never fall for that. I will never fall for a cult. This is why I can see through all, when somebody's a fake guru, a teacher. And it also gives me the ability to know this guy's a cult leader, but he's got some knowledge that I want. So it's in everybody's best interest to do something, commit to something. If your goal is spiritual awakening, these are the two extreme paths that you can take. And even if there's a third middle path, you're going to have to commit to that one. So, two most important things in life: put effort, pay attention. Pay attention to details and put effort. If you do that, you won't have to ask the majority of the questions. Like the person said, really? That only costs $25 a month? I didn't know that. It's because you didn't put the time or the effort into researching what is available. All right, what else? And nothing else? Chong the Viking retracted his message. Is that it? All right, then I guess we're done. All right, guys, that's it. Keep your eyes peeled, and more stuff will be coming. In the Warrior 90 Day, there's going to be more things that are coming which are going to be expanding what you've been doing. So don't rush it. If you're in the Warrior 90 Day, as you know, don't rush it. And don't worry about staying in one phase for too long. 90 days is the minimum. You want to stay for 180 days in one phase, go right ahead. You will only be benefiting yourself. But what is going to be coming is that I'm going to be teaching you how to unlock different dimensions by understanding what the fingers do. And there's going to be more standing posture stuff, which will have to do with, now you'll understand why we put the fingers like this, why you hold the fists like this, why you touch the fingers here. You'll understand all of that when we start talking about how these different fingers, and when you have the energy, when you've done the Warrior 90 Day, or especially if you've done the Mao Shan stuff, you've now opened up the meridians to such a point where just doing this will open up a whole world. Just doing this will open up an entire other dimension. All right, so let's see. Somebody else threw something. Chong the Viking's message was held for review. Let's see. I don't see any reason why, so I'll show it. He says, honest feeling, I commit. I've already purchased the 90-day Qigong and I just need to kick myself in the ass and stay disciplined. Okay. So, yeah, and then again, just to help you with that, if you've purchased the 90-day Qigong, so, by the way, you can't purchase it. You can, you subscribe for a month at a time. So you've subscribed. So you have now, you have time to go, do as, again, it's a waste of your time to do somebody else's thing. You've already put money into this. It doesn't serve you. Your question shows you're trying to sabotage even your own financial commitment. So, I mean, kicking yourself in the ass, if that helps, but instead of beating yourself up, think about, I'm doing this for me. I paid money for this. I want to experience it. And enjoy, look to enjoy it. Do whatever works for you, whatever gets you in the door. All right. That's it. I don't have any more thoughts. I need to go eat some food, so I'm going to go do that. Thank you, everybody. I wish you all the best, and I will see you all when I see you.